Over the last few years, I've tested 26 different marketing methods for branded manufacturers doing between 2 to 9 million a year. Some completely flopped, some generated traffic with no real buyers behind it, some looked great on dashboards, but they were quietly destroying profitability behind the scenes. But 6 of them consistently worked, with actual qualified buyers, predictable pipeline, and real scalable growth. Now here's what was interesting. The manufacturers that I was working with, they weren't losing because their products were bad or the market just turned on them. They were losing because they were confusing momentum with a system. Referrals were coming in, a couple big accounts were on repeat, trade shows every quarter, word of mouth was just doing enough to keep things going, and the whole time they thought it was a pipeline. It wasn't, it was just borrowed time. And the moment it dried up, there was nothing in place to replace it. That was the exact pattern that I was seeing time and time again, and this video is what's gonna help you fix it. So I'm gonna be breaking down the 6 exact strategies that's gonna be helping you build a system for consistent, predictable growth. Make sure you stay till the end because it not only changes how many leads you're generating, but it's going to change the quality of sales conversations you're already having. Most manufacturers are still leaving it on the table. It might be one of the biggest unfair advantages you might have in this industry. Okay, so the first strategy that completely outperforms everything is going to be Google search ads, but specifically targeting bottom funnel intent keywords. And this is where manufacturers mostly burn their money without even realizing it, because they go after broad industry keywords thinking that more traffic equals more growth, and that's not the case. In fact, one of the fastest way to completely destroy your ROI is just getting traffic from people who are never going to be buying from you in the first place. These could be students, researchers, competitors, people that are just clicking with zero intent to purchase a product or even have the buying power. And here's the most dangerous part. Manufacturers will blame the platform afterwards, saying Google ads do not work. And honestly, that's not true because it was just your targeting that was bad. Because bad leads don't just waste ad spend. It drains your sales teams, it kills your confidence in your marketing, and it makes the whole business lose trust in the growth system altogether. The manufacturers that are seeing real results are using keywords tied to the exact buyer's intent. Things like OEM skincare manufacturer, private label supplement manufacturer, custom packaging supplier, bulk beverage manufacturer. These keywords work because these are buyers with actual intent searching for a solution. All we're doing here is we're just capturing the intent that already exists using these types of keywords. And once we start noticing this pattern across many different industries, something becomes very clear. The manufacturers that are generating the best leads aren't getting the most traffic, they're just getting the right ones. One qualified buyer is way better than 10,000 clicks with zero intent, and most businesses have that backwards. Now, the one thing that most people don't talk about is that these buyers are already making a decision way before they speak to your sales team. And I'm talking about your landing page, your messaging, your offer clarity, your positioning. It all matters way more than most manufacturers think. Because if someone lands on your landing page and it already feels uncertain, you lost that lead way before sales was even involved. And that's where most manufacturers are destroying their conversions without even realizing it. And here's where things get even bigger. Because while Google captures existing demand, the next strategy builds trust before demand even exists. And over the next couple of years, this gap is only going to widen. Most manufacturers think Meta does not work for B2B, and that's only because they've seen bad Meta ads. This is where most agencies completely fail industrial businesses. They take that same exact playbook for e-commerce and they implement it to manufacturers and it completely flops. I'm talking aggressive offers, cheap creatives, short copy, generic messaging, short-term tactics. None of that is ever going to work because manufacturers' buying behaviors are completely different. Risk matters more here, trust matters more here, certainty matters more here. Most manufacturers think they're competing on product quality, but they're actually competing on certainty and trust. So the company that's able to reduce that uncertainty is the one that's going to win time and time again. Now here's the belief that I hear time and time again. My buyers are not on Instagram or Facebook, but procurement managers still scroll, founders consume content, decision makers spend hours a day online. Just because these individuals are in manufacturing does not mean they do not use these platforms. The key difference here is how you market to them. The manufacturers that are actually winning on Meta, they aren't using hype ads. They're running educational VSLs, authority-based creative, process breakdown, problem-solving content, and industry-specific messaging. Because trust in manufacturers gets built before the sales call, not during it. And once your buyers seeing you online, solving problems, sharing your process, educating the market, you stop feeling like another supplier and you actually start becoming familiar. And familiarity reduces perceived risk, which is going to be massive in this industry. One client we worked with tried running ads before coming to us with very little results. Low quality leads, impulse inquiries, just leads with no real buyer intent behind it. A lot of businesses think they have a marketing problem, but it's actually an execution problem. The moment we restructure the messaging, the positioning, the authority, qualified buyers come in almost instantly because Meta knows exactly who to deliver that campaign to. And then one of the strangest things that starts happening when demand starts picking up is that the phones start ringing, momentum is coming back, sales conversations get easier, and the pipeline no longer feels random. That's the key difference between traffic and actual demand generation. Most industrial buyers don't convert the first time they see you, and it's not because they're not interested, it's because timing is everything in manufacturing. And the companies who understand that are the ones who dominate, and the ones who do not fall back. And this is what brings me to strategy number 3. This is probably one of the highest ROI strategies in the entire video, and most manufacturers are not doing this the proper way. Because here's the reality. Most buyers aren't saying no, they're just saying not yet. What they're doing is they're comparing suppliers, they're getting internal approvals, they're reviewing their budgets, they're timing the purchasing process carefully. Manufacturing buying cycles are long, sometimes weeks, sometimes even months, and sometimes even longer, and it could be a couple of years. And most companies just disappear after the first interaction, and that is a massive mistake. Because while your competitors are vanishing, you're still staying top of mind with retargeting, staying top of mind while your lead is making decisions on the back end. This is when you start displaying case studies, testimonials, factory footage, educational videos, process walkthroughs. The companies that are staying consistently visible throughout the buying process are the ones who most likely to get the sale at the end of the decision-making process. And trust wins in B2B manufacturing every single time. Here's where it gets really uncomfortable. And most manufacturers think their problem is not generating enough leads. After auditing dozens of businesses, we find something almost every single time. A huge percentage of companies are losing a ton of opportunities after the lead comes in. Not because their advertising was not effective, but because their sales infrastructure was not optimized. And this is exactly what we saw at Haywire. And if you want to find out where your pipeline is leaking, click the first link in the description and schedule a call with us. Now, even when manufacturers are generating qualified leads, most manufacturers still lose revenue after a form gets submitted. And this next strategy quietly changes everything. Most manufacturers think they have a pipeline, but what they really have is just scattered conversations. They have leads buried in inboxes, sales notes living in spreadsheets, follow-ups happen when someone remembers, no real visibility, no tracking, no ownership. And the bigger the business gets, the more expensive the problem becomes. One of the fastest ways to destroy a sale is slow follow-ups, and time kills sales. And we all know this. And here's the truth, most manufacturers do not need more leads. They just need less leads to get lost in that operational chaos. That realization alone changes how you would think about growth. We've seen companies improve conversion rates before even increasing ad spend just by fixing pipeline organization, because predictability requires operational clarity. Every lead needs ownership, tracking, follow-up stages, communication history, and next step visibility. Without that, scaling is completely impossible. And here's the craziest part. Companies with the strongest CRMs still lose opportunities daily because of one thing most companies completely underestimate: silence. And this is where most businesses completely lose momentum without even realizing it. Which brings me to strategy number 5. Most manufacturing leads don't die after the first call. They die afterwards, in the silence, in between the long buying cycles. It's one of the most hidden revenue leaks in manufacturing, and no one seems to realize it because buying cycles are long and most companies stop communication way too early. A lead will download something, book a call, have a conversation, then nothing. No nurture, no education, no nurturing sequence whatsoever. And eventually the buyer just forgets about them. Meanwhile, another manufacturer is staying top of mind, educating them, nurturing, and eventually it's going to close that deal. This is why automating nurturing process matters so much. Now, let's not confuse it with spamming, automation, promotions. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking strategic communication, case studies, educational breakdowns, capacity explanations, client stories, industry insights, content that helps keep the buyer engaged while decisions are happening behind the scenes. Because the company that's communicating with the buyer consistently is who the buyer is going to go to because they trust them more and going to move forward when the decision is already made. And once you realize that, you'll stop thinking as follow-up as marketing, but more as revenue protection. Most leads don't disappear because they lost interest. They disappeared because uncertainty wasn't removed fast enough. And if you think follow-up changes close rate, the last strategy is going to show you how it can completely change your sales conversations with your prospects. And this is something that you should implement in 2026 to have an unfair advantage in the marketplace at this current state. Most manufacturing sales start cold. The sales reps will spend most of the time in the early stages walking them through the process, explaining everything, how the company goes, what the company does, how the process work, and why they're different. That's inefficient and it's completely avoidable. The best manufacturers educate the prospects way before the call even happens. When prospects watch a VSL, process walkthroughs, educational content, case studies, compatibility videos, before they even speak to a prospect, they show up already understanding the expectations, the process, the value, the differentiators, and the expected outcome. That's when that sales call stops feeling like persuasion, but more of conversation and continuation down their sales process. And this dramatically improves close quality, but not alone close rate. It helps reduce friction, you get better quality, you get better clients, smoother deals, and efficient onboarding. At the end of the day, the manufacturers that are dominating 2026 are not the ones with the biggest budgets, but with the most effective and efficient systems. The companies that capture intent, build awareness, stay visible, organize pipeline, nurture prospects, nurture buyers, and educate prospects before the call are the ones that win. And that's what creates a predictable revenue pipeline. And in the next video, I'm gonna be breaking down our signal to sales system that solves this for branded manufacturers doing between 2 to 9 million. And we're gonna be walking you through the messaging, the account structures, the layout, and how to engineer consistently with systems and not luck. If building this type of system is exactly what you're looking for, then the next step is to click this video.